Some cold cases fade with time. The headlines stop, the theories dry up, and slowly the victim is swallowed by history. But some cases never let go. Some cases stay alive for decades because every answer only seems to create another question. The murder of 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey is one of those cases. On the morning after Christmas in 1996, a ransom note was found inside her family's home in Boulder, Colorado. Hours later, JonBenét was discovered dead in the basement of that same house. Nearly 30 years on, no one has ever been charged with her murder, and the case still stands as one of America's most haunting, unsolved mysteries. JonBenét Patricia Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990, in Atlanta, Georgia, to John and Patsy Ramsey. She was the youngest child in a wealthy family and had become well known in child pageant circles, winning titles including Little Miss Colorado and America's Royale Miss. Her photographs and pageant footage would later become inseparable from the public's image of the case itself. That detail mattered, because when this case exploded into the national spotlight, JonBenét was not only seen as a murder victim, she became a symbol of innocence, privilege, media obsession, and a mystery that seemed too strange to be real. In the early hours of December 26, 1996, Patsy Ramsey called 911 to report that her daughter was missing. Inside the house, she had found a ransom note left on a staircase. It was not a short demand scribbled in panic. It was a long, rambling message stretching roughly 2.5 pages, demanding $118,000 for JonBenét's safe return. That number stood out immediately. It was oddly specific, and over the years, one reason it drew so much attention was because it reportedly aligned closely with John Ramsey's work bonus. From the very beginning, this note felt less like a straightforward kidnapping demand and more like an object that demanded its own investigation. Who wrote it? Why was it written inside the house? And if JonBenét had truly been kidnapped, why was she still there? Several hours after the 911 call, JonBenét was found dead in the basement of the family home. According to major reporting and official summaries, she had been bludgeoned and strangled. Her death was ruled a homicide. Boulder's official case page notes that she was reported missing from the family home and later found dead inside it, with autopsy findings identifying strangulation as the cause of death. CBS reporting on the evidence says her body was found wrapped in a white blanket with duct tape over her mouth. A garrote-like device became one of the most infamous pieces of physical evidence in the case. There were no easy explanations here, no clean narrative, no obvious sequence that made immediate sense. The crime scene seemed to point in multiple directions at once, and that contradiction would come to define the entire case. The case became national news almost instantly. The age of the victim, the family's wealth, the pageant footage, the ransom note, the fact that her body had been found inside the home. All of it combined to create a case so unusual that it seemed to invite endless speculation. Over time, JonBenét Ramsey's murder became one of the highest profile mysteries in the United States. But high-profile attention does not always help a case. Sometimes it distorts it. And in JonBenét's murder, the line between evidence and theory began to blur almost immediately. The public wanted an answer. The media wanted a villain. And the investigation had barely begun. The Boulder Police Department would later face heavy criticism for its handling of the early stages of the investigation. In a case where timing, scene control, and forensic precision mattered enormously, the earliest hours became a subject of controversy for years afterward. That early criticism never truly disappeared, and it helped fuel the belief that if a crucial mistake had been made in those first hours, the truth may have slipped further out of reach than anyone realized at the time. One of the most debated details was that police found no clear signs of forced entry, and yet former investigator Lou Smith later believed an intruder had entered through a basement window and escaped the same way. CBS also reported on rope found in a bedroom near JonBenét's and on a suitcase near the basement window. Pieces of evidence that only added more uncertainty, not less. As the case progressed, early suspicion focused heavily on JonBenét's parents. CNN's timeline notes that by December 1997, Boulder police publicly said John and Patsy Ramsey remained under an umbrella of suspicion. The parents gave formal interviews in April 1997, but tensions between investigators and the family continued to grow. Then came another critical moment. In October 1999, Boulder County District Attorney Alex Hunter announced that no indictments would be issued due to insufficient evidence. Years later, in 2013, it was reported that a grand jury in 1999 had voted to indict John and Patsy Ramsey on charges related to child abuse resulting in death. But Hunter had declined to sign the indictment, saying the evidence was not strong enough to proceed. That revelation only deepened public confusion. The legal system had appeared to move toward charges, and yet no case was ever brought. In 2006, the case seemed to lurch toward a breakthrough when a man named John Mark Carr was arrested in Thailand. Authorities announced him as a suspect after he allegedly made disturbing statements suggesting involvement in JonBenét's death. For a brief moment, it looked as if the mystery might finally be nearing an end, but it collapsed almost as quickly as it had appeared. Prosecutors dropped the case after DNA tests failed to link Carr to the crime scene. Once again, what looked like progress turned into another dead end. In the JonBenét Ramsey case, even the breakthroughs had a way of becoming part of the chaos. One of the biggest turning points in the case came in 2008. Boulder County District Attorney Mary Lacey released a letter to John Ramsey stating that, based on newer DNA analysis, the immediate Ramsey family, John, Patsy, and Burke, was no longer under suspicion. In that letter, Lacey wrote that DNA recovered from JonBenét's long johns matched the previously identified profile found in the underwear she was wearing at the time of the murder. She said there was no innocent explanation for the incriminating presence of that unknown male DNA on multiple sites of the clothing. Lacey went even further, writing that the Ramsey family should be treated as victims of the crime and expressing regret for the years they had spent under public suspicion. It was a dramatic shift in official tone, one that changed how many people viewed the case, but it did not solve the murder. It only altered the map of suspicion. Even after that letter, the investigation remained open. No one was arrested, no one was prosecuted, and the DNA itself became another point of public debate, not because it was unimportant, but because DNA in a case like this raises its own questions about origin, relevance, and whether it can ever stand alone without stronger corroborating evidence. Boulder's district attorney has more recently emphasized exactly that point. Whether the answer comes from DNA or some other form of evidence, more is needed to solve this murder. CNN's case summary still describes the investigation as open and unsolved. So while the 2008 letter changed the public conversation, it did not bring legal closure. In the last several years, the case has entered a new phase, one shaped by advances in forensic genealogy and renewed pressure for additional testing. In 2021, Associated Press reported that Boulder police had not ruled out DNA as a path toward finally solving the case. The department said it was actively reviewing genetic DNA testing processes to determine whether those methods could help move the investigation forward. John Ramsey has also publicly pushed for more testing, including the possibility of using genealogy databases to identify the unknown male profile found in the evidence. In 2022, he backed a petition asking Colorado's governor to transfer DNA decisions away from Boulder police and into the hands of an outside agency. His argument was simple. If newer technology could solve other old murders, why not this one? For their part, Boulder police insist the case remains a top priority. On the city's official case page, the department says detectives have followed up on more than 21,016 tips, letters, and emails, traveled to 19 states, and interviewed or spoken with more than 1,000 individuals in connection with the crime. Police have also said they have analyzed nearly 1,000 DNA samples over the course of the investigation. In 2024, amid renewed attention from a Netflix documentary, Boulder police pushed back against claims that viable leads or testable evidence were being ignored. They said that assertion was completely false, while also stressing that they must protect the integrity of any future prosecution by limiting what they reveal publicly. There are many reasons this case still grips people after so many years. Part of it is the victim's age. Part of it is the strange and theatrical nature of the evidence. Part of it is the possibility that the truth may have been visible from the start, only to be buried beneath panic, error, media obsession, and competing theories. But more than anything, this case haunts people because it feels unfinished in a uniquely painful way. JonBenét Ramsey was 6 years old. She died inside her own home. The world learned her name. The case became famous. And yet fame did not bring justice. Not then. Not yet. Today, the murder of JonBenét Ramsey remains open. No one has ever been convicted. No final answer has ever been accepted. Only fragments remain. A ransom note, a basement, years of suspicion, an unknown DNA profile, and a little girl whose name became one of the most recognizable in the history of American true crime. And there you have the facts. If you have your own thoughts on the JonBenét Ramsey case, let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more cold cases covered in this style, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time, stay alert.